Welcome back to Class Firearms, guys. Kai over here with Jason.
What's going on, folks?
And today we're going to talk about the history of the MCX program from 6 Hour. MCX stands for Mission Configurable Weapon System.
And X meaning the unknown, right? Like for any type of situation or plight you might fight? So,
anything.
There you go.
Anything you want, it's going to be mission configurable through the MCX program.
Correct. Now, I know you may be confused, right? Why do we have an MP5 variant sitting on top today?
You're right. It's an H&K product right here.
Definitely not an H&K, but close. But it all started out here with the birth of actually the MCX and why the platform.
Oh, made in Turkey. Okay. Sorry.
It actually birthed here right out of the MP5 SD. So this used to be the meta for a long time, where there would be special mission units, anything that JSOC had, SOCOM, USASOC, all that jazz. This was the go-to platform for any type of close engagement, CQB environment, and it just was it. I mean, 9mm at the time, I mean, it was just
extremely reliable.
Correct.
Over 25,000 back-to-back fires and with no stoppage whatsoever from H&K. It was definitely that weapon system that pretty much any country's special police, special units in the military selected. And we all know obviously the British embassy raid thing, all that. So this thing has been around, and to this day it is here, but this thing started something very special.
It did. It really did. So back in 2012, 2013, the world was kind of a weird place, right? Global war on terrorism was at its peak during that time, but JSOC and USASOC and SOCOM said, you know what? We need a special platform that's going to hit harder or punch farther than just the typical 9mm. So, of course, solicitations were put out, and a couple companies answered the call, meaning, obviously, this was no longer there. But the Honey Badger at that point in time came into play, right? So, obviously, you know, during that time, it was actually Advanced Armament Corporation. This one came into play, fielded and tested with certain units, but they said, hey, we want to go even farther. We love the DI system. We love that. We want piston-driven goodness because of all of the things that, you know, was actually in the competition to what they were trying to strive for, like the LVAW from the Russians. I mean, that's piston-driven goodness in 9x39, right?
Yep, they wanted to go head-to-head with that program, and with that being said, that's good. That's what the competition is all about, right? You know, Russians do it, then we race them, or we do it, and they race us, and that kind of helps us innovate. And with that being said, 6 Hours like, you know what, okay, you don't want the DI system. Honey Badger is a great system, but you want piston, we got what you want for.
And lo and behold, crazy thing, Kevin Brittenham actually left AAC at that time in his tenure and actually came to SIG. So he actually stood up, helped stand up their whole suppressor division, and not only that, helped in what came to the design of the MCX. So not only that, you've got a complete platform that was, check this, designed from the ground up with suppression in mind. So, of course, being its predecessor, the MP5 SD and all of its variants, saying, hey, we want something that hits, packs a punch, but delivers a little bit more terminal effects than that.
Yeah, and a little better range too.
A little better range, and obviously switching between supers and sonics that give you that capability. 300 Blackout was the call. And of course, SIG did answer the call in that aspect, meaning code name Black Mamba.
The MCX,
Not talking Kobe. God rest him.
Yeah. The Black Mamba, so it went against, obviously, the Honey Badger. Kind of, that thing got out of the way.
It got out of the way, only due to the fact of, it's not like it had any stoppages or anything. They wanted something that was piston-driven. So, moving into what we know as being... I have to make an addendum. This one actually just came into play. Shout out to my man David for definitely supplying this Gen 1 MCX going on. Of course, I had to add it on to the spiel of the whole legacy of the MCX and the LVAW program. So this one's actually kind of modeled after the CTSFO one, otherwise known as the Brit. It's not special operations, but it's their counterterrorism team, or equivalent to. So obviously you've got this thing tacked out. Of course, how you know it's the Gen 1 MCX is rocking that key mod rail. So obviously we pushed M-Lock back in the day, back in 2014. Crane did that study about which one's stronger, and then everybody kind of started rolling over into M-Lock, but a lot of European forces still use key mod to this day, so keep that in mind. Of course, how they had it up was the actual retractable stock and or the Cape Moss stock, and then they had like a BCM grip and then their little stream light on here at the 12 o'clock, obviously. But this one, a little modern, got the mod light on there. And then they had the D-ball on the front as well. So this one was very easy to use, right? This thing was, they called it the Legacy one, or what we now call the Legacy one, being the Gen 1 MCX. Now, this one also had two variations of it. So if you can see, it kind of mimics a Virtus, but this was way before the Virtus actually came into fruition. So this one was the actual evolution to the Virtus. So as you can see, this one actually has it's based on a regular M4 lower, but actually you can see here and how you know there's the markings of like a true Gen 1 MCX. If you zoom in right here, you'll see the actual MCX engraved on the upper receiver group still there. Sitting on an old SIG M400 lower with the little knuckle on the back to accommodate the 1913 pick rail. So obviously this thing's really, really awesome, man. Again, a rare piece of kit to add to the legacy of this thing. Obviously, no pun intended, legacy MCX, legacy Gen 1. But here you go. This one being chambered in 300 blackout. Obviously, the ones that the CTSFO started using were actually in 5.56, and those are primarily used for ARVs. What folks know, especially in the UK, not all officers are equipped to handle things when it comes to a firearm. You have to be qualified for that, and they have to go through like special training. Like I said, most of those officers who actually are issued firearms in England have to go through a specialized training, and ARVs are definitely one of those. And this is the actual gun that they use, and you can see this in the configuration. 9 times out of 10, they never really came suppressed, but just for, you know, S&Gs, got this with a Sandman K, so it kind of fits the whole program here, but it's awesome. You saw them with Vortex Hueys and also EOTechs, and of course always a magnifier with it. So there you go, man. Small little piece of kit. Let's keep it rolling.
Black Mamba.
The Black Mamba, but this is not the Black Mamba. This is the first gen Rattler. Now, of course, we're probably gonna have some photos and videos of, you know, folks who had a hand in it and, you know, all that jazz when it came to the
I
first
look forward
gen
to
one.
it.
That was actually cool. But here, what we have here is what we know as the Gen 1 Rattler. Now, this one actually birthed in a continuation to the Black Mamba, the LVAW, the low visibility assault weapon. And I hate to say assault weapon, but that is the classification of what it was during the time period in the program.
And that's what they were doing.
Yeah, low visibility stuff. I mean, the whole point was to be quiet on the signature, silent with its capability, but yet still pack the punch and really deliver terminal ballistics. Absolutely. Yeah. So what you have here is a Rattler, right? 5.5 inch barrel, small, you know, came out of a small request from a special mission unit to be, you know, easily concealed and tucked into
a glove box.
So that's exactly what they got. Something that could be done like that. Small, again, it is extremely small, nice little 20 rounder on there. Something you could tuck away and do well with.
It's bomb proof too, like incredibly durable.
Incredible, absolutely durable. Not only that, you could easily pair it off with a suppressor, right? So we got the SLH here. At that point in time, the SLH was not in existence. It was traditional, you know, baffles, steel tube welded all together, and it was the SIG SRD 762. I will say that this is an extra long can on here, so it makes it kind of goofy. I understand, but this thing
quiet as hell.
Uber quiet.
Yeah.
So
happy medium.
Definitely happy medium.
It's gonna sound weird, but I like them a little bit shorter, right there. Like maybe that.
And I feel like we've already talked about this, but let's talk about the LVAW and let's explain further. Let's jump into that. I know this is a holy grail item in itself, and this is not a direct comparison to a one-of-one LVAW because they are literally unobtainium, but this is as close as we could get it to an issued gun per se. So how the LVAW came into play, obviously 6.75 inch barrel, so that was great. Something that could be easily configured to accommodate those supers and subs, but still be having the compactness of being a CQB gun. So many of these things, again, all the accoutrement on here was pieced together meticulously over years of struggle busting it, trying to get clone correct. But
cloner nerd.
I am a cloner nerd, but here we go. Even down to the fact of one of the also most unobtainium, the Cape Moss stock. Now, this is exactly how you see it, how it was issued when it came to it, whether it be a T2 with the Mark LaRue mount on it or the EOTech magnifier on it as well.
What was the other configuration like?
So the other configuration, what you see in normal things, and the most famous photos of this thing actually being used were actually in Syria during that time with DevGru and CAG, and also the guys who did PSD work with General Miller, and I can, with the movie magic, make this turn into that. And of course, here we go. The one that's, you know, pictured, obviously will pop out on screen of the guys walking around with General Miller, doing their thing, looking extra jazz. Of course, with this lovely thing. Of course, everybody's gonna ask, is it heavy? Yes,
Yeah,
100%. Especially with the loadout that it was his. Again, you see many different configurations, whether it be different branches. I mean, 24th STS had these as well, so those guys were doing it. Like I mentioned, CAG before as well, and definitely Dev Grew Team 6 guys. So it was just outfit with that. Of course, this, again, not being 100% clone correct, I do not have the most unobtainium piece of the can. And that can was special because it was actually an 11 baffle can. It was a SIG SRD 762 Ti, the one that's not even available on the commercial market. But there you go. So this was the meta, right? This was it. This was a gun that was meant to be a CQB god in those instances. Extremely quiet, extremely wieldable, but still had everything what you needed to get the job done.
It is actually, I mean, looking at this thing, it is heavy, but it has everything you need, including the good old thing right here for you to kind of get in there and get stuff done, get this thing out of the way. It feels just really freaking good. Just fold this stock, good to go. Great to take the smag out, and you can store this thing. And
absolutely,
man, so this one, obviously we got the honey badger out of the way, the piston-driven system.
Right.
So this was adopted.
So obviously, you know, with the success that this one had in JSOC and USOC and SOCOM and all those team guys that had it, it kind of spilled over into this commercial market. And SIG said, you know what? Let's do it. But they had the first gen one. The first gen one had some issues. Pencil barrels starting to heat up a little bit. Barrel whip, all that stuff, but they fixed that, and then it came out the hybrid program. But the one that we're most famous with, or the one that we know so clear and dear to our hearts, is the Gen 2, which is what we know as the Virtus.
And the Virtus.
So yeah, this one's awesome, right? The Virtus came to have those upgrades that everybody loved, right? A couple of things that we prefaced about the MCX. Again, this thing is, MCX means
mission configurable weapon system.
So along with that comes with the durability and such of what the platform actually is. So all the way down to replaceable cam pathways, all steel. Even down to your feed ramps, which are replaceable, all steel. Even down to the way that the charging handle does, all steel. Even down to how you can switch out the forward assist if it gets damaged or you want to switch it to something else. All of these are replaceable parts. So this gun really does keep its lineage and expertise in longevity. So
yeah, it's and I love the Virtus, right? Virtus, obviously, before we move on to our next MCX lineups, Virtus was one of those things that came out and people absolutely loved it.
Loved it.
Super durable. It was slightly heavier. Well, at the time it wasn't, but then SIG figured out to make things lighter after that, which we'll talk about. And one of the complaints people had, the proprietary trigger, right?
Right.
Couldn't go back, yeah.
So in the first gen one, you could pretty much use any trigger that you wanted, but obviously when it came to the Virtus, they kind of had some hiccups that they need to get to with the bulk carrier group, and then you had to be married to SIG's match duo trigger. Now, not saying that the trigger was bad,
it's a good trigger.
It's a great trigger, and there were many ways to actually get around it. If you were able to jump in early on the train of owning a Virtus, you could have potentially upgraded the trigger safety pin in the back on the back side of the bulk carrier group, and if you got the G Mark one, which is the one from Geisley, you could actually use any aftermarket trigger that you wanted. Geisley stopped making those, and then the rest is history. The SOL. But as you can see, the Virtus was very popular in many different configurations. The one that we have this configured in is more of like a Dutch DSI one, or the German SEK guys one. So obviously
that SD,
yes, they had that SD look where they tucked the can underneath, because obviously in Europe it was a great thing to do, right? It looks good, and especially in this gray color. Very made famous with the British counterintelligence guys, CTSFOs, all those guys doing that type of stuff, and you can see images online of this plastered everywhere in a specific configuration. So here you guys go.
And then also you've got your Virtus without this configuration, with the non-SD version. You've got this handguard, which is extremely easy to replace. So just pull it out and just put this thing on there. It is shorter, well, not necessarily shorter. The handguard is shorter, right? But you don't get that SD look.
Right.
A little bit different look. Commercial market had this.
Right.
But this one had one big problem, Jason.
Okay.
handguard shift, the rail shift. So when you're holding this thing, it actually shifted significantly where people were complaining about it a lot.
Correct. So when what he's referring to is whenever you mount like lasers and lights to it, you could potentially rotate your hand or squeeze a little hard just due to how it's designed by only being held in by the front pivot pin and then being slid on these rails. Something had to be done to make sure that there was no zero shift when it came to all these items. And a lot of companies answered the call. You got Aerosocket made some barrel clamps onto it, which you put it in and really lock it into place because, again, the actual handguard starts right here in the middle, and then everything else goes with it. So, pretty cool platform. I get it. I understand it because it does make it extremely mission configurable for whatever you need. Hey, I need to run suppress, and I'm not worried about anything else, and I don't want to burn my leg or hand. I don't want to have maximum control over rifle. Put the SD handguard on, no problem. Or if I need to go as super short as I possibly can, lighter, go to the Rattler version and just throw a can on there or whatever. So it is like that.
Yeah, Virtus was definitely. I mean, a lot of. We were talking about the LVAW program, all that, right? But good. Virtus kind of started, SIG kept making things a little bit better, listening to the consumers, and obviously SOCOM folks out there just constantly giving their inputs, fielded experience. And SIG basically just moved on from the Virtus and came out with the next guy. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next, right?
Let's talk about the third one.
Third gen. Gen 3.
Gen 3, right? The Spear LT.
One of my favorites, dude.
Obviously, huge upgrade, right? This thing's awesome. They listen to the market. They listen to all of the feedback that they got from military contracts and stuff like that. Say, hey, we want ambi controls on everything. So we're talking full ambi. We're not talking halfway ambi. We're talking full mag or release ambi. Obviously, safety selector, and then you can also drop that bolt from either side. So.
And you can drop whatever trigger you want, pretty much.
Correct. Yeah. So they re-engineered the bolt carrier group, got rid of that whole requirement for the trigger pack or using their trigger pack for saying now you could use Geisleys, you could use trigger techs, all this stuff. Or who's that Hyperfire? If you got the crazy springs that shoot out if you open up the lower, don't ask. But there's that. But not only that, in going with the upgrades to that, they also were able to lighten the platform up a full 1 pound from its predecessor, the Virtus.
Yeah.
So we're talking about unloaded sitting at 7.5 pounds. Of course, its predecessor was a pound heavier. Yeah. So there you go. So of course, man, you got a crazy, all this new stuff. It's grayer, it's lighter, faster, all these things, and not only that, the Cerakote, right? Special Cerakote.
This was like anodized. Yeah.
Anodized.
They did, what, guys? They did later on come up. Nowadays, pretty much all Spear LTs or Spears, which we'll get to, they're all Cerakoted, not anodized. Right. I've got one, 11.5-inch pistol, and it's pretty. I like it. I like the way it is, but I like the anodized look better.
Right, and I know this wasn't picked up by conventional Army or conventional military services here in the States, but special units did say, you know what, we like what you've done with this. I think we need some type of variant for our unit, for our things, and that's where we enter the Seesaw. So
there we go. Yes.
Seesaw meaning close support assault weapon. Again, all the acronyms.
Typical government, dude. Federal government. Just everything is an acronym. Oh my God.
So it was basically cut down to an 11.5. But not only that, they didn't want to have the tannadized look or the anodized look. They wanted to stick with the black for it just to blend in with everything.
Spear LT. I've got one of those 16-inch fully black Spear LTs, and honestly, you're not used to that.
No.
But I like the black better on this one.
That's what a lot of people say. But moving right into that, the Seesaw was born. So this was actually, proved with CAG, definitely CAG, and definitely like Team 6 guys. It was realistically, they started out with the 11.5-inch, but it actually was a 10.5-inch cut down to there to create a huge small platform that could go in and out of cars with, in and out of vehicles with, and then engage whatever they need to. Now, of course, I've got this paired off with the Surefire RC2 because that's what I use, but I actually used their SLX line, which was actually the shorter one, just to give it a nice reduced signature platform. And of course, we'll put some pictures of some very famous guys, team guys using it. Matter of fact, the most famous one was the guy in Israel. When they were walking President Trump through Israel the first time. So there's that.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. And Spear LT, we've got the 72x39, 5.56 obviously, and 300 blackout, different barrel length configurations. So you've got it pretty much all, and obviously folding stock, and the handguard lightened up pretty good, and you can just easily swap the handguard as well. We had one issue, at least it was a perceived issue, let's just say, where the barrel shift that they talked about for quite some time. Then it was found out to be not true.
Correct.
I did notice when I first started shooting, like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, something like that, Spirit LTs, I noticed the handguard slightly, if I really flex it,
Right.
it shifts pretty much with any ARs, right? You do, but I never saw the barrel shifting on my
it never
barrel.
really did. So I understand that, because when it comes to keeping a 0 on a lamb, it's very important. And the added on features to the Gen 3, or what we know as a Spirit LT, were obviously index points where you screwed into the receiver itself. They added hard tap, so this handguard would not move. So that was one of the added features and bonuses as well. Again, cutting down on the weight completely, over a pound, and then slimming up the handguard, because as we know, the Virtus was a little blocky.
It was blocky, a little,
say
more robust.
Yeah.
It proved itself, but they wanted to they were like, you know what, we can still keep the reliability and robustness of the gun and drop a little bit of a weight, especially dropping weight up here is really important, because you end up putting your laser, you put your foregrip, you put your can, you put your light, it gets heavier. So whatever weight you can save over here will be very beneficial, especially when you're holding security.
Right.
Kind of takes a toll on you after a while.
Correct. Now, obviously, this was made very famous with even the French Special Forces, our Special Forces, especially US SOCOM, and then also multiple factions across the earth. I mean, if you're a tier 1 unit in somewhere on a country, they have this or are running this specifically. So you would think it would just end here with special operations.
No, then the little thing called NGSW.
No, before that.
What was that?
Before NGSW, there's another configuration. Let's show it. And here we are, the Razor program. So, reduced signature assault weapon. Again,
God.
the acronyms are all over the place. So it came actually as a whole deployment package, which is really cool. It came with a 5.56 upper, as we see here. That's in 7.75 inches. So really small, really compact PDW. And then it also came in a caliber exchange kit, well, realistically a whole nother upper, in 7.62 by 39 chambers.
Very cool.
This thing's really awesome. It is extremely compact. It's extremely small, packs a punch, and of course came with a can that's really long and really can handle every bit of it. So again, small, meant for PDW style stuff, PSD work, all that jazz. But guys just really ended up employing this just pretty much everywhere that they felt like it. So
these two are just like super special. About the 7.62 by 39, they promised that thing to be
like
delivered
years ago, and they finally delivered, folks, in Gen 3.
They are, So 5.56 and 7.62 by 39 Rattler LT is they're pretty much unicorn. Like, you can find them, but they're just rare.
Extremely rare. So, I mean, it did open up the world for, well, let's talk about this. This was now, but before then, there was the NSW Rattler. And what we know as being the NSW Rattler was originally just an upper receiver group that they had, just putting it on, M4 lowers or Colt M4 lowers that full auto, and had this stock available on it and the muzzle device, and then called it a day with a regular can. But obviously, this is the way of the dodo, and now we come back into the new version of the NSW Rattler, which is the 6.75-inch Rattler.
6.75, 300 blackout right here. It is my personal PDW. That's my home defense gun. I love it. I got a can on that thing, fully decked out, good to go, super quiet, zero recoil with the subsonic 300 blackout, and plenty of terminal effects.
There you go.
So I love this thing, and I have had mine, well, when they first came out, 2023, end of 23, somewhere around 2023, I have fired thousands of rounds through them. Never had any problems. They're fantastic, and obviously SOCOM uses them, and these guys actually tested the crap out of them. Rattler LT, the MCX overall, they are known to be one of the best weapon platforms out there for military law enforcement use.
Absolutely. And people may ask, well, why have a 300 blackout and a 7.62 by 39.1? Well,
was there an emission in Eastern Europe or something like that was required?
I mean, when you're in a nation where the host cartridge is, an AK round, you kind of got to leave a signature of that.
Yeah, you can't just leave 300 blackouts like, Americans were here.
Absolutely. 7.62 by 35. Can't leave that around. But 7.62 by 39. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So there it is. Like, so you got your 7.62 by 39, you got your 5.56, you got your 300 blackout, super compact, good to go. All obviously piston-driven, adjustable gas block folder right here.
Yep.
Just, what else do you need?
What else do you need? It kind of opened the gate or floodgates for, the grand coup d'etat moment.
Yeah, the government was like, you know what? Wait a minute. We've got all this cool stuff, all SOCOM stuff, right? But what about the overall, the boys in the field?
Conventional.
Conventional, exactly. So they're like, you know what? 5.56, awesome, NATO caliber, fantastic, here to stay. Pretty much most 70-by-39, 5.56, most commonly used rifle calibers out there. But the military was like, you know what? I'm questioning the capabilities of 5.56 at range, like reaching certain distances, and also once there, doing certain amount of damages. And 5.56 wasn't quite doing that. They were like, you know what? We need something bigger, better. And SIG was like, hey, government, we're already doing a bunch of stuff with you guys, the MCX, mission configurable weapon systems. Let me just configure something else to what you need now, and the NGSW program, Next Generation Squad Weapon, and came out with the Spear.
I feel like we should show that.
Right here, I just grabbed it off the wall for you guys. This is the Sig Sauer MCX Spear. Heavy, exactly. This is chambered in 308, 7.62 by 51, but the military contract version is chambered in 6.8 by 51, and also known as 277 Fury.
Yep.
And this is a 16-inch version. The military got the 13-inch version. I actually have one of those, full SBR and beautiful, good to go. And they have the Sig Sauer Tango 6T with their titanium mount, just as a contract, and they have their contract can. That's it. Now this bad boy, like, extremely robust. Like, I mean, even when compared to Spear LT,
right?
Spear LT is great, but when you grab this thing, it just feels it.
It's a tank, for sure.
100%. Shoots real well. I like it. Overall, fantastic. I obviously went through the trials, and 277 Fury 6.8 by 51, and the Spear platform won the contract, and it's being fielded right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, people ask, what's next for SIG, when it comes to that aspect? Could there be something new on the horizon? Maybe a smaller, shorter Spear. Maybe Project Raptor, but...
Is that happening?
There's
stuff happening.
I've seen it.
Yeah, there's stuff happening at SIG. SIG never stops when it comes to this stuff, and constantly answering questions, solving issues when it comes to all this, obviously military stuff, right? And I know there is some controversy out there when it comes to Sig Sauer, but we're talking about the history of the MCX, MCX program.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening over there, but the MCX, I'm sorry, man. It's you gotta give credit when it's due. Pretty much my favorite programs when it comes to rifles.
It really is. Yeah. Again, from the first beginning, the LVAW, the Seesaw, the Razor, the Raptor, you name it, they've got it all covered, man. They really have answered the call when it comes to special operations and what they're needing and the requirements, and they knock it out the park. So
yeah, they're absolutely killing it, and I look forward to see what else they're going to be doing when it comes to all of these, the MCX program. But MCX, I believe they're just going to continue to just adding new weapon systems to the program. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about the Sig Sauer MCX platforms in general, weapon systems in general?
Do you guys like them? Are you guys into, really building it out your way? It is the Burger King of guns. I will say that. You can have it your way, 100%.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe even Wendy's, like the quality.
I don't know if they're good at Wendy's clapbacks like the Twitter, but y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've ever seen Wendy's Twitter, it's crazy.
It is pretty cool. And folks over at Special Operations Command, they seem to love them, and they keep asking for more, and that is about it. So, guys, again, just let us know your thoughts in the comment section. What is your favorite MCX of all time, and why? And also your experience with the MCX platforms. Yeah. And also, always a very, very heavy hitters.
It's a banger.
Like the one this is in the field. So that's it, guys. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making them. I actually learned a couple of things myself about the MCX platform or program. And as always, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your business.
God bless.
We'll see you on the next one.